Thanks for joining me in my studio here. Open studio live stream number 19, I think. But we're going to have our second session working on this small mural. We're going to be painting a scene that's representative of, I think, the area that we live in pretty well, Stroud Township. It's a scene that I painted of Flagler's Run. Which is very indicative of the types of natural scenes that we have in Stroud Township. This is part of the Pennsylvania 250 contribution to the celebration of 250 years of the United States, my local contribution. We're going to go ahead today and just focus in for about 40 minutes to an hour in all likelihood. And I think what I'm going to do is with this little underpainting, rough underpainting that I started yesterday, we're going to finish that stage off today by adding some more gray and black, and we'll tint those warm and cool from time to time in order to serve the painting. We want to create, it's hard to see this up here, but a similar sense of depth and luminosity. There's a lot of ambient light in this scene that was created initially with pastels on plein air or on location, painting outdoors. We want the same kind of vibe, and we'll get there. It's just going to take a little bit of grappling with the different format and the scale of this, and different medium. We're using acrylic paints, mural paint, and acrylic paints to render this. So we'll get going. I'm primarily going to be working in gray and black to get things started here. In these sessions, not a lot of talking, not a lot of explaining. I'm just working, and you're welcome to join me. So that's how these sessions have been working out for the most part. So don't be alarmed if you can't hear. I'm generally not doing a lot of talking in these sessions. Some drips are okay. Not all drips are created equal. Okay. too dark, but we will brighten that up. A little bit of cerulean blue. A little bit more gray. Okay with drips at this point. It'll just help us create a little bit of mystery. And then we're going to get a little bit of our warm white or cream color. Just a little. Too dark. All looks pretty rough right now, but this is just a big mess. But believe it or not, we're off to a decent start here with this. Okay, now switch to a brush here for a brief moment. I'll create some subtler, darker spots, some contours in the background, and then we'll come back through again. We're going to warm up some spots and reinforce darks. We may work in some of the lightest lights, not the highlights, but like the brightest mid-tone lights, just so we have a way of gauging our progress forward from there and kind of key the painting. So some of those lighter blue and cream colors that you see in the water and the sky. And we'll probably have to call it at that point, but just so I can have a little bit more precision, I'm going to switch to my large filbert here, and I'm going to bring in some transparent orange oxide. Mix it in with the grays a little bit here. There we go. And that'll tone it down just a little. Let's see how that looks. Perfect. going to fill in all the areas that feature this kind of grayed out rust color, but just going to get it in so as I make progress in some of the other areas, I have something to kind of key against and make sure that the colors and the values are working together the way that they're supposed to. Most of these warm colors are going to be in the foreground or midground, and help create that depth. That's the plan anyway. That's not too bright. Not too bright. See how this is reading through the camera. It's not reading too well up close, that's for sure. But all right, not too bad. So we're gonna be in the awkward phase of this painting for a while. It's a larger painting. So it just means we're going to spend more time there, and that's totally fine. All right, rinse out my brush. And we're going to come up with kind of a neutral to cool gray. And we're going to use our orange and Prussian blue. Along with the black and the gray that we have, and then we're just going to add some titanium white. Bring in some of the mural blue here so I don't. Cool gray here. Lost my my image. That's okay. Yeah. There we go. That's good. Create the illusion of kind of infinite depth without rendering, just suggesting. So there's going to be lots of streaks of various shades of gray and temperatures of gray. It'll take us a while to get to where we want to go, but it should be worth it. All right. Green this out a little bit. So a little bit of yellow. Oops. Back here. And we're a dripping mess everywhere. That's okay. Now, we'll do that out one more time. And we're going to get this kind of funky blush purple. This next layer will clean the palette and then reinforce some of the darks, and then we'll let it rest. And we'll reestablish some of those tree trunks a bit. For now, I'm destroying them, totally okay. Some evergreens that come over top. Just indicating the slope of the other side of this little valley that this creek sits in, this ravine, if you will. It's a little difficult to tell where it ends here. That's good, because that vagueness helps create depth. Okay. Extend this a little bit, we'll exaggerate it a little more. In reality, the space that this scene is based upon is probably not this grand. If you go visit it, it's a small little run, part of a creek system that eventually runs into larger creeks, Pocono and McMichael and Broadhead Creek, which run into the Delaware River. All right, that's probably pretty good. All right, I'm just going to rinse off. Actually, I'll bring some of this down into the water. Use it while I have it. Ahead and clean my palette here, and I'm going to load it up with some of my darker value colors again, and we're just going to reinforce some of those darker values, and we'll wrap up for the day. It looks like we, on the surface, probably took a couple steps back so far, but I'm going to trust the process here. All right, bring that back. to get my reference photo working for me again. And then we're going to get started. We're going to reinforce some of the darker value shapes, and then maybe some of the later values, and then we're going to call it a day here. And I may change that background shape a little bit. It's fine. All right, so I'll go ahead and rebuild some of those darker value shapes. I'm going to use my burnt umber mural color that I have here, and a little bit of the purple. And to varying degrees, we'll mix those together. And reinforce some of the darker shadow shapes here. before we get too off track here. And go ahead and here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring some patchy blueness to this little shape here. It's a little too soft, a little too lavender, a little too solid, so we're going to break up that shape with some lighter blues to push it back a little bit further. Try and stay vague with the shape so we don't accidentally pull it forward. And then we're going to start laying in some of the lighter colors in a little bit of a U here, just to give us an indication of how that's going to work against all the other shapes and values and colors, because the light source is kind of going to come through this little valley here, filtering down through the trees and the clouds, creating an ambient light source. So those are the two things that we're going to do before we wrap up here. Go back into my blue. Oops. And onto my white. I'm going to create a muddy grayish blue. And that's intentional. I'm actually even going to leave it a little streaky. Scrumble this a little bit. You don't want this to be really well defined. We're going to lose some edges, and that's fine. All right. Uh-oh, that's not good. We're live. Live streaming one big blooper reel. we'll come over the top with that a couple more times with more indications of trees and so on and so forth. But for now, we're going to leave that as it is. And I'm actually going to dip right into my warm white. And just going to see how this reads. Definitely going to refine this a lot, but what I want is a general kind of U shape or rounded V shape formed here. Just want to be able to key off of this. So all the color and value relationships, will be laid down in this image with the notion that this is going to be the light source. This is going to be the brightest area, with some exceptions like reflections on the water. And I don't want to lose track of those relationships. Okay. Yeah, it's going to work fine. These are not the brightest highlights, believe it or not, but they're close. This will evolve into a little bit more of a gradient, where the most intense light will be in a smaller band, and it'll diffuse and gray out. Maybe we'll take one more stab at reestablishing some of those darks. I'll probably just use my lamp black to darken the value of this purplish brown that I have on my palette. Alrighty, it's getting there. Next session, we'll actually be refining a lot of the shapes, starting to work on some of the illusion of detail, looking to enhance some of the suggestion of three-dimensionality. For now, this is pretty indicative of like the wrapping up of the block-in. And there's a little bit of modeling going on, but for the most part, wrapping up the block-in here and the general idea of the painting. Use the same dark color. All right, that's where we're going to stop for today. Appreciate you checking out my little Open Studio live stream. We're working on this 250 Pennsylvania Keystone project here. This little mural is kind of representative of what we see in the local area where we live in Stroud Township, Pennsylvania. Huge network of streams, creeks, runs, rivers, and we're going to work on this over the next several Open Studio live streams here early in the morning. Typically these are going to be earlier. I'm just fighting a little bit of a cold, so a little slower in the morning. Typically these will go up usually around somewhere between 5 and 6:30 a.m. The past 2 days we didn't get started until 7:40. But in any event, thanks for joining, and I hope you have a great day. Stay well. See you soon.